If it pleases your lordships, I could turn power for the second respondent. And thus with me are my learned colleagues, Frank Davis, Kweku Estrefi, and Yao Pong.
Are they your learned colleagues or your learned friends?
As your lordship pleases.
No, let me know. What's the right terminology? Is it learned colleague when you are announcing?
Learned friends, my lord.
This is the ruling of the court. The fundamental issue raised in this objection is whether or not the first and second respondents in this petition could be compelled by this court to give evidence, notwithstanding their express indication to the court that they do not intend to do so. This petition was brought under Article 64, Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution. The petition seeks to challenge the validity of the election of the president in the 2020 presidential elections conducted on the 7th December 2020. At the close of the petitioner's case, counsel for first respondent announced to the court that the first respondent does not intend to adduce any evidence in the case and therefore wanted its case closed. Counsel for second respondent associated himself with the position taken by the first respondent and reiterated that the second respondent would also close his case because he was not adducing any evidence. Both counsel submitted that having regard to the evidence led by the petitioner through his witnesses, they did not deem it necessary to adduce any evidence in the matter. The two counsel relied on Order 36 Rule 4.3 of the High Court Civil Procedure Rule CR 47 and Order 38 Rule 3E Sub-Rule 1 and 5 of CI 47 as amended by the High Court Civil Procedure Amendment Rules 2014 CI 87. Learned counsel for the petitioner has opposed the position taken by the respondent and argued that the respondent, especially the first respondent, cannot refuse to adduce evidence in this petition. The grounds upon which counsel for the petitioner opposed the petitioner's decision not to adduce evidence are that they have both elected to adduce, respondent's decision not to adduce evidence are that they have both elected to adduce evidence in that they have filed and served witness statements as ordered by the court. Counsel for the petitioner argued further that the first respondent in particular, besides filing an answer to the petition, has also specifically deposed to an affidavit in opposition to an application to serve interlocutors in which the chairperson indicated her availability for cross-examination. Finally, it was contended by counsel for the petitioner that the first respondent chairperson performs a very important constitutional function and as such must be made to adduce evidence in his petition to account for his stewardship to the people of Ghana. In their submission before the court, counsel for respondent, particularly for the first respondent, sought to rely on Order 36, Rule 4, Sub-Rule 3 of CR 47 and Order 38, Rule 8E of CR 87. We have carefully examined the above rules and our opinion that the provision that is relevant in the determination of this issue is Order 38, Rule 3E of CI 87, which specifically deals with the use of witness statements in civil trials. We deem this rule to be crucial in view of the position taken by counsel for the petitioner, among others, that the filing and service of a witness statement connotes that a party has elected to adduce evidence at the trial. We recall that the filing and service of witness statement in this case was in compliance with an order of this court as part of the pre-trial protocols before trial commenced. It is also an undisputed fact that a defendant in a case can elect whether or not to adduce evidence at the close of plaintiff's case when such a defendant is called upon by the court to open his or her defense. We are of the considered opinion that it would be wrong in law to hold that a party is deemed to have elected to adduce evidence as soon as that party files and serves a witness statement in compliance with the court order. To hold so would mean that once a party files and serves a witness statement, that party mandatorily has to mount the witness box and adduce evidence at the trial. This position is not borne out of the rules. Indeed, Order 38 Rule 3E sub Rule 5 clearly provides otherwise as follows, quote, if a party who has served a witness statement does not call the witness to give evidence at the trial or put the witness statement in as hearsay evidence, any other party may put the witness statement in as hearsay evidence, end of quote. The above rule implies that when a witness statement is filed and served, the party who files it may choose not to give evidence at the trial. The principle is the same in viva voce evidence, where a party or witness who mounts the witness box testifies in chief and fails to turn up for cross-examination. Such a witness cannot be compelled by the court to appear for cross-examination. He suffers the penalty of the evidence being expunged from the record. This is exactly the position the respondents have taken in this petition, where both respondents have decided not to adduce evidence even though they have filed and served witness statements. The above rule also points to the fact that a witness statement filed and served does not constitute evidence in law till the author of the statement mounts the witness box, takes the oath, and prays that the witness statement be adopted as evidence in chief, pursuant to Order 38 Rule 3E sub Rule 2, which provides thus, quote, where a witness is called to give oral evidence under sub Rule 1, the witness statement of that witness shall stand as the evidence in chief of that witness unless the court otherwise orders, end of quote. In view of the clear provisions of the rules referred to above, we do not agree with the submission of counsel for the petitioner that when, as in this case, an answer to the petition was filed at the pleading stage and witness statement filed, the respondents had elected to adduce evidence at the trial. We are also of the opinion that the filing of affidavit in interlocutory applications with the averment that the deponent will be available for cross-examination does not make the deponent compellable to adduce evidence at the trial. Counsel for the petitioner has argued that because the first respondent performs a very important constitutional duty when it is sued in an action such as this case, different rules should be applied. However, counsel failed to refer us to any provision of the 1982 Constitution or any statute which require that the first respondent, being a constitutional body, should be subjected to different rules of the court, and our own industry did not unearth any such authority. The law is that parties before this court must always comply with the no rules of procedure and settled practice regulating the jurisdiction of this court, regardless of the nature of the case. See upon versus Attorney General and others, 1999-2002 Ghana Report 402. The first respondent is not subject to any different rules of procedure because it is a constitutional body. The evidential burden imposed by law on a person seeking to challenge the presidential election results has been settled by this court in the 2013 election petition case entitled Akufo-Addo and others versus Mahama and another, 2013 Supreme Court of Ghana Report, Special Edition, page 73. Thank you. After citing with approval several decisions of courts in some Commonwealth countries, notably Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, and Canada, Edina JSC concluded at page 218 thus, quote, accordingly, the petitioner bear the burden of proof to establish not only that there were violations, omissions, malpractices, and irregularities in the conduct of the presidential election held on 7th and 8th December 2012, but also that the said violations, omissions, malpractices, and irregularities, if any, affected the result of the election. It is after the petitioners have established the foregoing that the burden shifts to the respondent to establish that the results were not affected. The threshold of proof should, in principle, be above the balance of probability. We have started dealing with JSC's dictum to drive home the legal proposition that the petitioner in an election dispute stands or falls on the strength of his or her own case and never on the weakness or otherwise of the evidence of the respondents. Counsel for the petitioner cited to us the case of Sumala Biabia versus Ademu Dramani and Attorney General number 4, 2012, one Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report, page 374, in which this court ordered a party to adduce evidence because that party had already adduced evidence in the form of an affidavit. That case is distinct from what is before us now, and it must be read in its context relative to the facts before the court then. In that case, this court was dealing with the submission of no case in a trial admitting affidavit evidence, unlike the current petition, where this court is dealing with witness statements which are unsworn and are not yet evidence. Indeed, the distinction between that case and the current case is clearly demonstrated in the ruling of Dr. Datiban JSC, who delivered the ruling of the court. At page 357 of the report, the learned jurist delivered himself as follows, quote, "It is the unanimous view of this court that the first defendant, Ademu Dramani, should be called upon to open his defense in the interest of justice. This case does not have the ordinary characteristics of a trial, say the High Court. The procedure before this court is such that before the commencement of oral testimony in this case, the first defendant had already put matters in evidence by affidavit. In this circumstance, it is artificial and hardly sustainable to disregard the evidence already adduced by the affidavit of the first defendant and proceed to an assessment of a no-case submission made on his behalf, as if the evidence on record is that of the plaintiff." End of quote. The distinction here is that in the petition before us, the first respondent has not put before us any evidence in the form of an affidavit or otherwise. As already stated, learned counsel for the petitioner only referred us to an affidavit deposed to by the chairperson of the first respondent in opposition to an interlocutory application to serve interrogatories. That affidavit is not evidence in this petition to enable us compare the first respondent to mount the witness box to be cross-examined. The Sumala Biabia case is clearly distinguishable on the facts and the law. Now, besides the rules referred to in this ruling, we take notice of the well-settled practice that a plaintiff in the case has a right, that a defendant in the case has a right not to adduce evidence after the close of a plaintiff's case. This right, which originates from the common law, has been incorporated into civil trials in our jurisdiction through case law and has been applied in several cases in our courts. The general principle of law is that a party cannot be compelled to adduce evidence in a trial. In this direction, we intend to refer to some cases on this principle of law. In Nyamecha versus Ansan, 1989-92 Ghana Law Report, page 152, Court of Appeal, and PRJ, as it then was, delivered at page 155, that's, quote, "The plaintiff contended that since the first defendant did not give evidence, judgment should have been entered against him. I do not agree. A party to an action need not give evidence himself. A party to an action needs not give evidence himself. Provided he can adduce evidence of some sort from other sources, the court would have to look at that evidence in considering the totality of the evidence before it." In Baron versus Labi, 1962, one Ghana Report 168, in the practice note, Olenuji as he then was delivered himself as follows, quote, "A party to a suit is not bound to give evidence, and the court cannot compel him to give evidence if he does not want to. And if a party, having gone into the witness box and sworn or affirmed, elects to give no evidence, his opponent is not obliged to cross-examine him. This procedure, therefore, is not irregular and cannot vitiate the proceedings and the judgment in the case." End of quote. In Tai and another versus FIBA International, 2017-2018, 2 Supreme Court Ghana Law Report, 906 at 919, Poaman JSC opined as follows, quote, "It must be remembered that the fact that a defendant does not appear to contest a case does not mean that the plaintiff will be granted all that he asks for by the court. The rule in civil cases is that he who alleges must prove on the balance of probabilities, and the burden is not lightened by the absence of the defendant at the trial. The absence of the defendant will aid the plaintiff only where he introduces sufficient evidence to establish a prima facie case of entitlement to his claim. End of quote. In Ama versus Hydroform Estate Limited, 2013-2014, 2 Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report 1551 at 1567, which was cited to us by counsel for respondent Benny JSC, held as, quote, a court has no duty to call upon any party to testify in the case. The court act as an umpire and only hears such evidence as the parties will prefer. Whether the parties will testify or not is none of the court's business. Indeed, a court to insist that the party should testify will amount to the judge descending into the arena of conflict. After determining the tribal issues, the trial court leaves the field clear for the parties themselves to decide who will testify. We know of no law or rule which entitles a court to call upon a party to testify in the action. If such a law or rule does, we would venture to say that it is inapplicable under legal dispensation. End of quote. Finally, we refer to the case of the Society of Lawyers versus Sir William Otto Jeffrey, BT 2000, Queensborough Division Commercial Court, which on the facts is similar in terms of procedure with the current case before us, inserted by counsel for the second respondent. In that case, all the witnesses have served their witness statements in accordance with pre-trial directions under the civil procedure rules, but lawyers have decided not to call them to testify at the trial. An application was made to the court for an order requiring the opposing party to call the witnesses at the trial so that the applicant could cross-examine them. Creswell J. held that in civil proceedings, the trial judge had no power to dictate to a litigant what evidence he or she should tender. There was no obligation to call witnesses. It was counsel's duty to decide what evidence was called and the order in which it was called. The instant court had no jurisdiction to make the order sought. The law is therefore settled that a party will not be compelled to enter the witness box and testify in support of his or her case. It is a risk parties who decline to give evidence take, knowing perfectly well that the court will be left with no option but to proceed with the available evidence before it. Counsel for the petitioner has strongly submitted to us that we should not apply the Society of Laws case to the peculiar facts of this petition because the first respondent, being a constitutional body with defined responsibilities, must be brought before this court to be cross-examined as a way of accounting to the people of this country for its stewardship. The Society of Laws case, like this petition, also deals with witnesses who have served witness statements and have decided not to give evidence to be cross-examined. We are amended to state that our jurisdiction invoked in this election petition is a limited jurisdiction clearly circumscribed by law. We do not intend to extend our mandate beyond what the law requires of us in such petitions brought under Article 64, Clause 1, challenging the validity of the election of a president. Simply put, we are not convinced and will not yield to the invitation being extended to us by counsel for the petitioner to order the respondent to enter the witness box to be cross-examined. Accordingly, we hereby overrule the objection raised by counsel for the petitioner against the decision of the respondents declining to adduce evidence in this petition.
As the court pleases. We are most grateful to the court.
And also we are most grateful.
Please, you rise for about 20 minutes.
My Lord, yes. Respectfully, before you rise, I think I ought to notify your Lordship that we will now seek your Lordship's permission to reopen our case in order to have a subpoena on the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. Now, my Lords, we know that we can issue a subpoena without leave, but since we have closed our case on the assumption that she would be, so we intend to file a formal motion.
Counsel, it's a court of record, so like you correctly pointed out, you come by your form, you'll be heard.
Very well.
Yes, but you come back and give directions for the further trial.